I think the confidence that you guys have given me over the recent months to jump into this has just been phenomenal. Really appreciate your help, and quite honestly, there's a direct correlation to the time invested on these calls to the ability to have the confidence in the moment. So thanks for that.
Welcome, amazing agents and investors nationwide. This is Thursday, May 28th, 2020, and this is role play call number 280. We do have 5 people in the queue, so let's get right to our callers. First up this week is phone number ending in 2729. You're up first.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. This is Bill Janiga. I'm calling from Detroit, Michigan area. How are you?
Hey, Bill.
Wanted to make a comment about something interesting. This past week was my first court appearance via Zoom. We were scheduled for 9 o'clock before the judge. Didn't get in until 3 o'clock. So fortunately, I had a small Bose speaker that's wireless on Wi-Fi, and I just carried that around the house with me until 3 o'clock. So it was quite interesting. It's the first one that I did. The judge was actually very nice. There was a difference in opinion as to the house. And since I'm also the realtor and the investor, he had JPEG files of my photos of the interior of the house, along with my CMA as to what I thought the house was worth, and then basically values of the last 60 days during the virus. Looked at it, asked the attorney. Attorney just said, hey, I was under the impression the house was in better shape, but I like Mr. Janiga's photos, and we're good with that. So judge approved everything. We closed Monday afternoon. So I just thought I'd make mention of it. It's the first one that I've done. It was quite exciting.
That's great.
Actually, as a funny side note, I was basically sitting there with shorts in my office with a white shirt and tie on. But the camera can only see the top part. So.
None of us have ever done that.
Yeah, I know. Nobody has. So anyways, that was just my comment. I just thought I'd mention it.
Well, that is awesome.
Oh,
so I guess we don't invest in the pants industry, right? Wrangler, or Levi's, or
No,
don't need to wear them.
No, cut off shorts and a white shirt. You guys mentioned watching the space launch. I've owned a bunch of timeshares on Hutchinson Island, and we can actually see part of the launch as it starts to go up from the beach. And it's quite impressive, even at a distance.
That's where I'm at right now, Bill, in Ocean Village on Hutchinson Island. Yeah, but hey, congratulations on that. That's so good to hear, and we hope to hear more of those kind of stories. And right now, you're in first place for Winner of the Week, so thank you for sharing.
Oh, well, it wasn't so much for that. I just thought it was comical. That was my first court appearance via Zoom. But our market is, if the things are priced well, we're getting multiple offers. Badly priced homes are sitting there. Our inventory is down. Our buyers are down. But the buyers that are looking at properties are serious buyers. They're not tire kickers. And other than dealing with all the COVID forms that we have to contend with now, it's going well. I did one on Sunday showing. Basically was I sat on the dock. I said, house is open. I did my review of it. The room that's got the toilets, the bathroom, the one that's got soap and refrigerators, the kitchen, go have at it. And that's how he left it. And we get to write an offer as a result of it. So everything is good,
And Bill, you did say one thing. We often hear confusion or reluctance with realtors who are investors, and they think there's going to be some major conflict. And it sounds like you're not really experiencing that at all. I mean, you're perfectly okay with wearing either hat depending on what the seller wants and needs. Correct?
I am. The only one thing here in Michigan locally, our judges always take side of tenants or buyers, for the most part, regardless of what transpires. A number of years ago, I had my one and only lawsuit. And the judge just said it was a question of water penetration and through a glass block window. And he said, well, I see on the paperwork you're also a licensed builder, therefore you should have known that you should have dug down and removed part of the wall and redid it. And I just basically said, Your Honor, it wasn't leaking at the time we had the property. He just said, basically it doesn't matter, fix the window. Okay, so it cost me a couple grand to fix the window, but after that I let my builder's license expire. I had it initially just so that I could pull permits easier on the rehabs. But now I pull them as owner when I can. And the only other thing that I'm really fanatic about is anything to do with gas and electricity, whether it's incoming service lines or boilers or heat, only because both gas and electricity can kill me, and I can't see either one of them. So those are the two things that I'm really tough on my rehabs or for my clients.
Sure.
As far as that goes.
Sure.
But
makes sense.
Okay,
Awesome.
well, listen, you guys enjoyed Florida. I'm envious. I wish I was there.
All right, I'll get a picture and Facebook it to you. Thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Have a great day, guys.
Great story. All right, take care.
Will.
Thanks for sharing. All right, next up is phone number ending in 4476. You're up next.
Yeah, hi. This is Anna Eckstein. I'm actually part of the mastery class that's going on right now, so learning a lot, but I couldn't have the whole thing quite yet, so I'll be rewatching. But I have a question. So I'm trying to build it up, the value, the way how we're talking about, to create the value for the consumer, for the attorney, and coming from the empathy. But like I still try to figure out like what is super important. Like I know like keep people awareness of the insurance. So make sure they understand that if you don't switch your insurance, the insurance will lapse, and if something happened to the property, there's, you know, it would not be covered. Like how the, like where we can, like I talked to my insurance person, and he kind of confirms all of that stuff, but how we can get into some sort of like more detail that you can actually like, this is like I have two questions. So one is like where we can actually get into some sort of detail to, because like when I provide the services, let's say for the sellers, I describe details of like what happened, how it happened, and what we're doing to prevent that happening. But I'm not quite like figured out where I can get the information like for the stuff for the like insurance. The second one is like what else like super important in a probate process that the sellers should be aware and they may not necessarily aware.
So one of the best things, it's incredibly hard to teach across over 3,000 counties because the process varies so much from state to state and even county to county within states. So one of the exercises that I always suggest, we did talk about this late yesterday, it sounds like you may have missed it, but is you actually go and you're accomplishing several things here. If you can step out of your comfort zone and approach a local probate attorney and ask them to sit down with you and design a checklist, and basically a timeline or a checklist from the very beginning when they petition the court all the way through to the end. They have years and years of horror stories. They've seen where things go sideways. They've seen where families shut down, you know, what the choke points are. So they're going to know your local process. They're going to be extremely familiar with it, and they're going to have stories and names to put behind it. So it'll help you really.
And by the way,
build that.
I am from Florida, just so you know.
Okay. But the idea is to approach that attorney. Because of solicitation laws, they are not allowed to directly solicit for estate planning business. If they're a probate attorney, chances are they're also they're doing estate planning business, and that's their favorite side of their business. Probate is great revenue, but it's a lot more stressful, takes a lot more time. Estate planning turns, you know, it's much easier work, and it pays way more quickly. So the idea is to approach them with the value proposition that you sit down, design a co-marketing piece, and that co-marketing piece is that timeline or checklist that's hyper-local to your area. And you include that in each letter. And what the legal aspects are colored, let's just say red, and everything else can be in black. And you can point to it in the letter and say, you know, enclosed, you'll find a checklist that we find, you know, most families find extremely helpful in the beginning. It helps them understand the difference between the legal aspects and everything that the attorney won't be helping them with. And if they don't have an attorney, which 20% of the time they don't, then his name will be in the footer of that checklist. And it's a great way for you to provide free marketing for an attorney. But in return, you get to build that really local knowledge and build a real relationship with that attorney by collaborating on the project. And so they get a huge benefit of being able to legally direct solicit through your marketing. They get to understand what it is that you do in your business and how that complements theirs. And it usually results in an hour or two long meeting, with someone whose time is worth $200 an hour. And they usually will immediately they see value in your model, and they'll start sending you referrals. So as you're doing that, sit down and say, well, what's the craziest, tell me about the craziest case you guys have ever worked on, or the biggest surprise you've ever seen, or what's the thing that at least 80% of families don't realize until after they should have, or ask them questions like that and find out how you can learn the process locally, but also how you can speed up that process and lower the stress level for your clients. And they're going to respect that.
And what are your thoughts? Yeah, thank you for this. What are your thoughts also? I was thinking incorporate between the mailing pieces and the phone calls. What are your thoughts of incorporating messaging through the social media platforms? And I was thinking to do that maybe even individually, or to do that as a pay ad for a Facebook or a LinkedIn, and to do this as a video message. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very effective if it's very specific and local. We've talked about this on a few mastermind calls recently. I think it was just 2 weeks ago we unpacked it again. But if you take your probate leads and you create a custom audience or a saved audience, matching on first name, last name, email address, mailing address, and all the phone numbers, you can get upwards of 90% match rates. So if you have 100 probate leads, chances are we can find 90 of them on Facebook. And what I suggest is go stand in front of the courthouse, a physical location that they've been to, so it's going to grab their attention. And when they see you standing in front of the courthouse, it's going to, something in the headline, 3 or 4 words, like going through probate in Florida, question, or something. So the idea is in less than 2 seconds, grab their attention. And then just talk to them like it was a referral from a friend. Like, don't try to be scripted or professional. Just be very direct and say, hey, my name's Chad. I've got a team of folks right here in Roanoke that help families going through probate. As you see, we come to the courthouse at least every 30 days, meet with the clerk, and see who we should be reaching out to help. That's why you're seeing this video. If you click the link below, you can learn more about what we do. And then you land them off on a page where you have a longer video, so saying basically the same thing. Your call to action is, you can call me right now at the number on this page. You can click right below and book right into my calendar, and I'll call you at the time that works best for you. Or you can fill out the form. You can give them multiple calls to action, but we find it's incredibly easy to get the clicks, but unless you're doing those hyper-local videos, it's hard to get the conversion. So setting the audience up, getting the ads running is really easy. The reason we haven't been able to scale it and do it for everybody is because generic videos just don't work that well. You standing in front of your courthouse speaking directly to them is incredibly effective. So you can listen to a couple of those other mastermind calls where we talked about it at length. But that's the idea, and it works really, really well. You get typically, you're going to average about 12 to 20 daily impressions. So it's, for a few pennies, it's like sending 12 letters a day. You have 12 opportunities for them to see that, and eventually they're going to watch the video because you're only, you're targeting, assuming you have a good enough budget behind it. And I would recommend a minimum budget of $250. And each month when your probate leads come in, don't create a separate audience. Continue adding to the audience. The larger your audience is, the lower your cost per result. So, and then like on month 13, you start to drop off those older months. So for the first 12 months, you're just continuously adding to your audience. And then on month 13, you knock off that last month. Or you could continue building it. But we know that the vast majority of people will find a solution in Florida in 12 months.
And then also, thank you so much for sharing with this. And also, like, I have a little bit hard time to find individual people, like on a Facebook, not audience, but the actual people. Is there any like app you guys can recommend? Because I'm looking into it, and my rate is not even 90%. It's pretty bad. Is there any app or maybe something technology-wise? I don't mind to invest in something like this a little bit, just to get better quality.
There's several skip trace services that will return social media results. I would say just Google, skip trace social media, and you can upload the probate list. We give you the good phone numbers, and we give you multiple match points, so you can use our list and augment it through someone who skip traces social media, and you should come back with about the same match rates, like 80, 90%.
Awesome. Thank
Another
you so much.
thing that you have to realize is if you just plug a name into Facebook, the odds that you find that individual are slim. But if you're loading your list into Facebook with phone numbers, with email addresses, with names, all that data kind of combined, Facebook can find those people. They have most of that information anyway. There's just not a way for you to search individually with an email, a phone number, and a name. So if you're searching for someone, it's going to be tougher to find than Facebook just with your list.
Excellent.
Right.
All right.
Because they're tracking over 200 unique data points for each user, even if they're not in your profile. They're on the back end of their system. They have over 200 points for like 94% of the population. That's why we have such success with match rates on audiences. That's the data Facebook can't necessarily let us see, but they can use it. We can use it to build audiences.
Perfect. Well, we have 8 more in the queue, and Chad, I know you got to leave right at 2 today. So next up is phone number ending in 4843. You're up next. Are you there? 4843.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Perfect. Hey, this is Josh Foster. I'm over here in Southwest Louisiana around Lake Charles. I just went through the mastery class, the last mastery class Chad did. I've got a couple of deal questions, and then I want to touch on something I'm running into when I'm making my calls. So deal is I'm representing a property that's through probate here in Louisiana. It's not called probate. It's called succession. It's going through succession. I'm dealing with the executor. The house sits on a 0.8 acre lot. The adjacent lot is owned by the executor as her separate property. We have had several people wanting to buy the home, but they want the house and the extra lot because the two really need to go together. The executor has been advised by the attorney not to commingle, not to put those two pieces of property on one contract, since that one piece is her separate property. So we're actually working an offer today. I'm going to throw out what I suggested, and Chad, if you got a better idea, I just wanted to run it by you. I suggested do a 1-year lease purchase option on that extra lot. Give the buyer, if he successfully closes on the house, give him a 1-year lease with the option to purchase for the set amount that she wants for the lot, and it'd be 2 separate transactions. So I'm open if there's a better way to do it, but by all means.
That will work, but my interpretation of this is the buyer has already made the decision and they're willing to close on it now, right?
Correct.
And do they have cash to cover that, or would it need to be wrapped into the financing?
It needs to be wrapped in the financing. That's the problem.
So that's why you're
They're
thinking
doing
lease
FHA.
option.
Yes.
And you think their strategy is to refinance within the year so they can wrap it into the loan then?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they want to do that or if they want to go get their own loan. I don't represent the buyer on this deal. And the buyer's agent is a green agent, so she doesn't have a clue. She didn't even know what a lease option was until I had suggested it as a possible solution. The thing is, I asked the executor originally, could we go could we have two purchase agreements? He's buying the lot from you. He's buying the house from the state. Let him wrap it into his FHA loan as one loan. But she was advised against that from her attorney because they didn't want to commingle the two sales. And
right.
then that
and
way
I don't
there
know
was
if the
never.
underwriter. I don't know if the FHA underwriter would let that fly, anyways.
I do.
So here's your alternate options. Your lease option will work,
Mm-hmm.
but it only serves the buyer if they can refinance in the next 12 months. So it depends on their financial picture, what their debt to income ratio is.
Sure.
You could be putting them into a lease option that they might not ever be able to close on. The other thing is community banks. I mean, there's a lot of really healthy community banks right now, and they've really tightened down. There's not much happening in commercial real estate, but they still need to deploy capital. So a lot of times they will take 20% down and finance the land. What's the value of the land?
It's a $15,000 lot.
Okay, and is that what they're willing to pay for it?
Except, yes, yeah, they're willing to pay $15,000. The house is listed for $130,000.
And do they have any cash? I mean, they're doing FHA, so they probably don't.
They're going
right?
FHA, and they're asking for all their closing costs. So I'm assuming that's a no.
Does your seller need the $15,000? I'm guessing isn't life-changing money for the seller, right?
No.
So the other alternative is you just sell it to them separate on a contract for deed or owner finance, just straight out owner financing. And they can take 0% down and make 5%. They could charge as high as 8% interest, and just sell them the land on a separate contract, on a separate closing with separate financing, and just separate it from your FHA, because I think it is going to muddy the water for you. And rather than waiting a year for a lease purchase to see if they're going to exercise their option and if they can actually get financing, I think it serves everybody better to just go ahead and structure it as a completely separate contract with owner finance, 100% owner financing, do 30-year amortization with a 5-year balloon at 8%. And you might even make a lower rate. I think 8's probably going to be your max. Like prime plus 5 is going to be your max.
Perfect.
Yeah. But I think that's the cleaner way to do it, and everybody wins. Your seller makes more money. Your buyer doesn't have to go qualify for more debt. Even if the home purchase is pushing their debt to income ratio up, it won't matter because it's a private loan.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So that way everybody gets what they want right now.
Okay. Another question. I'm dealing with another probate or succession deal. It's a piece of property. It's about 2.5 acres. Back originally, it was a brother and sister inherited it from their father when he died. Back originally, when he died back in the 80s, the property probably wasn't worth $50,000. Now it has turned in. It's really been commercialized. Now this piece of property is worth, in my opinion, between $375,000 to $400,000. Probably $385,000. It's got a lot of cleanup needed. Got into the deal, started looking. Brother and sister inherited from dad. Sister died, and sister had 1 million kids, and a couple of those kids are now dead too. This just is stemming from 30 years of doing nothing. So anyway, I need 4 successions done in these deals to clear this title up, and I've got my attorney I use all the time. He's willing to do the successions and then not file them or do the work, more or less get paid at closing, and he'll file it with the court right before closing. So that is fine. I've got that worked out, but I'm dealing with about 14 people on this file, and I've got most of them ready to sell, and then I've got one of the sister's daughters is so I guess it'd be a niece to my other owner. She thinks it's worth $750,000, and I know because I've got appraiser friends I've called about this, and I've had some appraiser friends kind of caution me about she's, two of them have said, look, that you might want to steer away from that because that family has caused problems all up and down that road. All up and down that road there have been lawsuits in the past with family members over values. And so I've had two appraisers told me they've had to go to court with distant relatives of this family. So I'm kind of thinking at this point, I can sell, in the amount of time that this is taking, I could sell $600,000 homes or $1,000 homes to this one deal. So what's your thoughts on that, or what would you recommend?
I would give it one chance. I would call and talk to the contrarian, the one that thinks the value is way more than it actually is.
Yeah.
I would have like a BPO or CMA or market absorption analysis, some analysis of value that you can share with them, and say, I've talked to appraiser friends. I've done my own research. Here's what the market says the value is, and I understand you have a different opinion of value. If we can't get on the same page, then we can't work together. So I just wanted to talk and have a candid conversation. Are you willing to sell for market value, or do you have to get the number that you have in mind? And just be willing to walk away.
Okay, well, we've had that conversation, and she keeps coming back and says, well, I'm not going to be the holdup. But at the end of the day, here's where I feel like it's going. If I sell it, put it up there for market value, and I have an investor buy it quickly, then I gave it away in her eyes. Or if I sit out there and it doesn't sell quickly, then I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like it's a catch-22 for me with this lady.
And so she is just an heir, so basically all she has to do is sign off at closing. See that she's not your client, right? She has an inherited ownership interest of the property. It's funny, everybody thinks it's worth a ton of money. Nobody has any money to spend on it to clear the title up. So I was going to get all of them to sign my listing agreement acknowledging that this is what we're going to list the property for, etc. Then I was going to have the title attorney do the succession work, have it ready to go, so when we got a buyer, we could file at the courthouse. He could get paid on the deal. I was going to have everything kind of in staging or in a queue, ready to roll. But she's saying she'll sign it, but I can tell it's hesitant, and I feel like I don't want to say feel like it's a setup, but I do have I don't have a great feeling. That's what I was going to suggest, is just a listing addendum, and it sounds like you've already gone down that path. So I would write up a listing addendum that says, all parties to this agreement have reviewed agent's recommended pricing or agent's pricing recommendation and agree that this is a fair valuation for the property, and that everybody does intend to sell. Something along those lines. You can work out the language between you and your broker. But get them to sign that as kind of a commitment pledge and make it an addendum to the listing agreement. So if she does try something like that once you're into the transaction, then you can just simply go to the attorney and the other family members and say, listen, she signed her name here, giving us consent to market the property at this price. So you basically destroy her credibility, and you can, I wouldn't say that this should be your objective, but if she decides to get ugly, you can turn the rest of the family against her with the commitment that she made and signed her name to. And if she won't sign that addendum, then just don't do it.
Sure. Last one, and I'll be quick. So I'm making my calls, and in Louisiana, when it gets filed at the courthouse, the succession is finished. It's done. That's unless the state has too much debt that it can't cover. If there's substantial assets to cover the debt, it doesn't have to open. It doesn't have to be advertised. If all parties that are inheritance to the property, if all parties agree on who's going to be an executor, whatever, and there's enough asset to cover any debt of the estate, it goes before a judge in the chambers. He signs off on it, gets filed, succession's done. So when I'm making my calls, I'm sitting here telling them, hey, you know, we've got a group of people that help with families going through succession here in Louisiana, or here in Southwest Louisiana. A lot of my rebuttal is, well, we've already done that. We're done. You know, so I'm not catching them soon enough, or I need to reword it, and I don't know quite how to reword it to let them know what I do.
Yeah, so I guess my response would be, yeah, I can see how you might think that. So you're done with the legal aspects, but what we find, especially here in Louisiana, in most states, the legal aspects run alongside all the social challenges. But really where we help is where the legal aspects drop off. We help with the social side of it. So getting homes empty, helping family members find suitable housing, helping family members buy the home, turning the home into a rental, you know, helping you make sure your family never has to go through this again. There's a lot of, every single family solution is different because it's all based on their needs and their unique situation. So yes, our state allows a much more efficient process than most areas. So you've gotten the state involvement part of it done, but have you really dealt with everything? And is this really settled in the family? And what could you use some help with? Because even if you have a very efficient judicial process, that doesn't change the amount of stuff a human collects in their lifetime, or the relationship dynamic among the heirs, and them not knowing what it's worth, or who to call to get it cleaned out, or who to do this or that. They still have to struggle through those things just without court oversight.
Correct. All right. Next up is phone number ending in 1783. You're up next.
Hi, gentlemen. This is Devin Doherty with EXP in Orange County, California, and I just sold my first estate property since I've been with you guys, and thank you so much for your coaching. It is a beachfront in Playa del Rey. We listed it for 3.75, and we had multiple offers and sold it for 4.5. I want to take that message. Hey, thanks so much. I want to take that message and run it up the mountaintops of what attorneys want to hear. And this is an attorney referral. So I want to figure out how I can leverage that testimonial, if you will, or that strategy to, you know, people that want to hit a home run with their clients from an attorney perspective. And I'm trying to figure out what is the best strategy to you know, kind of to run that up the flagpole, if you will.
Sure. I'll suggest two things. One is a blog post, a video blog post. I'm guessing you have a great relationship with the family that you did that for. So I would, you know, go see if they're willing to do a video interview with you where you're both on camera, and just talk about the deal. Talk about, you know, listen, we met through attorney John Doe, and we, you know, this is how this one went. Kind of do like a brief case study of just here's the solution we pulled together. Here's how smoothly everything went, and just document that. Do you have a probate website?
Not yet. No, I do not.
Okay. Well, you can do this. Do you have a blog component to your core website?
I've mainly just been on YouTube and Facebook. I don't have a central landing page, if you will, with all the videos. It's on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook.
Okay. Well, you can do it, and you could do it just on YouTube and Facebook organic video. But the idea there is each time you connect with an attorney, or even before you connect with the attorney, be able to drop a link to that so they can go see that and hear that story. The other thing would be putting together a one-sheet, basically a one-sheet summary of the same thing. So here's a picture of the house. Here are the numbers. Here's the timeline, and, you know, here's the story. An attorney called me. We did this. We sold it for a lot more than we thought. And then have a testimonial in there from the family, like a written testimonial. So when you're meeting attorneys, just have those with you. And just say, you know, here's one example that really inspired me to reach out to you today, because look what a difference we made for this family and this attorney. And I'm happy to proof up in your office as well, just as I did in his. So you can have a physical handout that's kind of a case study with a testimonial, and then you can have a video, you know, that captures that same thing. It's very easy to share electronically through a text message. You know, just say, you know, listen, was by your office today. I missed you. Here's why I dropped by. I just helped this attorney with this deal, and I think that I think there's a lot more that we could do together. And just a brief text message with that video. And they're going to watch it. If it's a 2 or 3 minute video, they'll watch that. And those numbers get attention, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I would, while you've got your seller at an emotional high, try to get both of those things in place. You'll have lots of uses for them. You could also use, you could use it as a second page in your letters, marketing to other personal representatives. Just say, P.S. Flip this page over and look at what we just did for this family, and then you can have a back page or a second page to each letter that you send to the families, and just have that summary sheet with a photo of the house, a photo of the family, a quote from them, like a testimonial quote, and then the timeline and the numbers. And it's going to show equally as well the families going through this.
Fantastic. Speaking of handout, there was a conversation with the attorney post acceptance about providing me a bonus and then him wanting to split the bonus with me. And I don't know whether he was baiting me or what, but I do use something called performance compensation, which allows me to escalate my comp based on the success numbers that we hit for the client. And he kind of took that as an opportunity, I think, to put his hand out into my commission because he's a licensed agent as well. Is that something you pre-negotiate, or how do you gracefully handle that and still get referrals down the road?
I don't know. My response would be, what does that look like? And I would play dumb and see if he'll reveal more about it to see what his angle is. I've never heard of it, and it throws a red flag for me. I would just want to hear him explain, tell me more, right? Tell me what you had in mind, and make it his burden to show you how it should be structured, because bonus is that's what throws the red flag for me, right? A bonus, we have the contract defines what the payment schedule is. So where's the bonus coming from?
Yeah. Well, I think it was.
I would let him reveal, and just like you said, he may be fishing. He might be trying to trip you up. So make it his burden to explain himself.
Roger that. All right. Really appreciate your help. And quite honestly, there's a direct correlation to the time invested on these calls to the ability to have the confidence in the moment. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And I'm sure you've done the math. It sounds like you covered your leads and marketing expenses for the next 10 to 15 years. So it's all.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, this actually was not a lead from All the Leads, just so you understand. But the fact that I've been involved with the brain trust that you guys have and the amount of depth of knowledge you have has allowed me to expand my horizons. This is actually an LA County lead, and I am in Orange County. I think the point is that knowledge is knowledge, and knowledge is only as good as when it is when it's applied. So I think the confidence that you guys have given me over the recent months to jump into this has just been phenomenal.
Boy, well said. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Well, that's a great win. That'll be a tough one to top. Next one up is phone number ending in 6338. You're up next.
Hey guys, Chad here out in California.
Hey,
I wanted to ask a quick question. I got two questions for you. The first one has to do with the leads that come in from you guys. What I'm noticing is that the person listed as the personal representative in some cases has not been given that authority by the court. And at least that's what they're telling me. So for the sake of me understanding how their number or their name is coming up as the personal representative, where does that name come from? I mean, they're always involved in the process, but often is the case that they're waiting for the court to give them their authority.
So when we push the lead to you, that means that they have petitioned the court for probate. So as soon as they petition, that gets recorded. Normally, in a normal pre-COVID environment, within a matter of usually the next week or the following, they will have their confirmation hearing, and they'll be issued the letters of testamentary. Then they have the authority and the official title of executor, administrator, fiduciary. But because of the judicial backlog created by the situation we're in, sometimes there are delays in that, and there's not much we can do about it. The encouraging thing is courts are starting to hold virtual court parallel with physical court. They're moving toward night courts. So they're doing what they can to clear that backlog. But for now, we're going to talk to some folks that are highly, highly motivated to move forward and wish they could sign a contract, but they can't. So what you can do is you can help them prepare for the sale, help them get the personal property staged and organized, and deal with things like that. You can get a letter of intent signed, so a letter of intent to sell or a letter of intent to list, just to get some sort of a mental commitment from them. It's not really legally binding, but it's a commitment. And just say, listen, we'd love to start today and help you guys. We're limited in what we can do, but we're happy to go ahead and engage and do what we can. This is just a simple letter of intent to document our relationship and, say that we intend to be in an agency relationship whenever we can, whenever you have that authority. And in their mind, they'll be committing to you as their professional, so they're very unlikely to sign with somebody else because in their mind, like an LOI to business people, it's like, yeah, whatever, it's an LOI. But to them, it's like, oh my gosh, I signed that, and he left a copy with me. We have to live up to it, right? So that's about the best you can do. Move forward and document intent, and protect yourself against competition. And we're at the mercy of the court. We just have to wait.
Got it. That's kind of how I thought it played out in the court. I just wanted to confirm that with you. Now, one follow-up to that. I getting my feet wet. I was in the mastery course last month and calling folks and learning a lot. A particular situation, I've built rapport with an individual. He wants to work with me. His specific situation is that the deceased had renters in the property, and the renters, by all accounts, have moved out. The house looks abandoned. The house is broken windows. There's trash all around. None of the neighbors have seen them. But the renters are kind of savvy, and they're saying, no, we still live there. We don't want you coming into the house. They're essentially demanding cash for keys. And this, the administrator is still waiting for his letter of authority that his hearing date isn't until mid-July. Is there anything he can do at this point? He's afraid to make any move because, they're stating that they live there, even though it's pretty obvious that they don't. He didn't want to get in trouble for trying to take possession of the house because, these guys are going to file a lawsuit against him. I don't think he can file an eviction or do anything until he gets his authority. What are your thoughts on that particular situation?
Did they sign a lease, or was it implied?
No, they didn't sign a lease. It was friends of the deceased, and they did live there at one point. But we think they've moved out. We know they moved out.
Was money changing hands?
No.
So they're not technically a tenant, right? So there may be an implied lease agreement, but you might not be subject to landlord-tenant law because it was a friend living with a friend. Yeah, it was definitely, especially considering the situation and with the way the courts in your state are handling this, I would certainly it's worth paying an attorney to navigate this because they could be trying to create liability for him if he tries to recover the asset. If the attorney can prove that you need to gain access to secure the property, the broken windows are a really good reason for that, then that should be reason enough to, if there's I don't know your state landlord-tenant law as well as an attorney will, but what's hopefully true is that you can prove that there's safety and sanitary issues, gain access to the property, change the locks, and secure it, because there is no lease. There was no landlord-tenant relationship. It was a friend living with a friend, and so You certainly should have an attorney navigate this because you don't want to create liability for the family. But it sounds like they may be able to take action right now to protect the property. And they might be able to recover it without an eviction process because there was no actual landlord-tenant relationship or lease.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe an eviction attorney. Yeah, go ahead.
It's Bruce here. You should also find out what your personal property eviction limits are in your state. If they really are not in the house, if you could access to secure the property, you have to leave them away into the house, but you can otherwise secure the property, just leave one door with the same key. And then you could file a personal property eviction, which would allow you typically 10 days, depending on state law, typically 10 days, sometimes it's a little bit longer, and evict the personal property if you know that they're not there.
Okay. Now, once he is granted his authority, he'll be able to start an eviction process if that's necessary, right? He'll have the authority to do that.
Well, it depends on what the climate is in you're in California?
Yeah, I'm in California, and it's pretty rough on landlords out here. So aside
right.
from
so
the
you
coronavirus,
you have a moratorium through September, right?
Right, and so I understand that Corona throws a curveball in the whole thing, but I just want to get my head wrapped around what the personal representative can do, coronavirus aside.
Yeah, normally, yes, they would have the authority to do that if it weren't in this environment. But I think you have a pretty hard-line eviction moratorium through September at least. And I wouldn't be surprised if California follows some of the stuff, like some municipalities have already extended that well beyond a year. So that's why I say, especially in this environment, you guys need an attorney to help you navigate it because there's so much is upside down right now, and you don't want to, you don't want to use yesterday. What would work well 3 months ago could quite honestly be illegal and create a bunch of liability right now.
Hey, Chad, I know you have mastery at 2 o'clock, correct? So you want to take a couple more? You can do at least a couple more calls, correct?
I'll leave it with you guys. I'm going to go get set up.
All right, because we have got time for one more. Next up is phone number ending in 6720.
Howdy.
You up? Yes, sir.
Can you hear me okay, guys?
Yeah, it looks like you may be the last caller of the week. Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, I'm brand new. I'm Larry in California. I do not have a license, a real estate license, and I don't have anybody to work with yet, but I see a way that I can be of service and kind of follow Chad's philosophy of offering service to people in the community, and I'd like to get started. So my question is it too early for me to go ahead and send out letters and kind of learn just get started, do something that makes sense and get started and see if I can't just learn as I go here, and that's my question.
Never too soon to get started.
No, done is better than perfect.
Okay.
You're going to be able to go ahead, Jim.
No, I'm good.
So,
go ahead, Bruce.
Okay.
So if I send the letters, then just basically follow the program the way that I've seen other successful or heard about other successful people doing it, I will go ahead and just begin to put that team together on kind of an as-needed basis, I suppose. Is that kind of the way that would be the wisest way for me to approach here?
Yeah. So
I would go ahead. I didn't know you were still on, Chad. Go ahead.
No.
Okay. So I would go ahead and start working on the team now. You don't have to have the team completed to start sending the letters. The letters in Mailbox Motivator are editable. So as you add team members, you can actually add content and add different solutions into those letters. So let's say that you don't have attorneys yet or you don't have a contractor yet. You don't have to tell them in the letter that you have a contractor, but it's pretty easy to find handymen, it's easy to find house cleaners, it's easy to find clean out crews, things like that. So anything that you know that you can find quickly, go ahead and offer those services. Otherwise, simultaneous to the letters going out, the marketing, the calls, you're also going to be actively seeking your team members.
Beautiful. That's
All right.
Perfect. I think it's great. I really appreciate it.
Bruce, we got two more in the queue, and I know Chad's got to go. You have time to handle them with me, correct?
I'm good. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to run.
All right.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Everybody have a good
All
day.
right.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Chad.
soon, Chad. Next up is phone number ending in 0229. You're up next.
Hi, this is Graziano. My question is pretty simple. It's more related to the leads that we are receiving. I noticed that several times I have the same personal representative named several times, 2-3 times, with the same attorney, same deceased, but different case number. I would like to understand more this particular case.
That's one I've never heard
Jim, I know.
before. Do you have a
Oh, you haven't?
answer, Bruce?
I heard it a couple of weeks ago. And we were trying to figure out what that was. Somehow, what it seems like is probate was not opened properly, and then there were some corrections made with the courthouse. That's what we thought that it was, and so it would show up twice. I haven't heard of it happening 3 times. And Jim, I know you said that you haven't had that, right?
No.
Yeah,
no, I mean,
because just to talk more specific number, I'm purchasing 100 leads per month on Orange County, Florida, that in average are 200. But I have at least 1, 2, let's say 7, 8 names with this type of situation. Sometimes the multiple PR is the same of the attorney going to check. But there are 5 examples with situation like that.
yeah,
Again, same PR, named 2 times, same attorney, same disease, but 2 different cases. And one list, let's say, is named just 1 time per month.
And the odds are that you're dealing with either
if you want, I want to send,
probate.
I can write an email to the support and give the practical cases in order that you can discover.
Yep, you can do that, but truthfully, the odds are that you're either dealing with a clerk that opened probate improperly or an attorney that maybe opened probate improperly, and they're going back and doubling up their work, which would happen, which would be a good explanation if it's a different case number.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like you said, sir, if you have a query or a question, if you see it happening multiple times, just send a ticket to support at all leads, and we'll take a look at the data. But chances are that it's being refiled. It's the same case being refiled. It's not unusual to have an attorney, obviously, do many cases, but most people are not an executor multiple times in the same month on different properties. So something's going on there. So, if it keeps happening, just send it to us and we'll look into it. Looks like last up this week is phone number ending in 0727. You're up last.
What's up? This is Jay Hawk in Dallas, Texas, otherwise known as Jonathan Hawk. How you guys doing today?
Doing great, man.
Pretty good, Jay. How's it going?
Everything's going well. Hey, my question is really harping on, cause I heard this before, I had to jump in the queue because we were talking about social media, how to use it to along with our list, and I was like, oh, damn, I missed that. All right, so let me digest this a little bit, guys. So what I'm saying is I'm great with social media. I love it. I love that whole idea, and I'm not far from the probate courts here in Dallas, or even the county clerks, where I'm not far at all. I'm like from where my ass is sitting. But so what I'm saying is, ClickFunnels do you recommend using ClickFunnels as a way to do that on Facebook with the video and then a link to another to your ClickFunnels page, or maybe put this on YouTube as and not have it unlinked and put it there, and then still have a way to get people to your. I mean, so I'm brainstorming here. I just need some direction.
Mm-hmm.
As you guys can tell,
So
I'm excited and I get to ramble when I do that.
If you're playing the short game or the long game. If you're playing the long game, sure, use ClickFunnels, or if you don't have a ClickFunnels account already, you could just use Facebook forms, so lead forms. Okay. Either one of those are fine, but if you're playing the long game, ideally what I like to have people do is record a video or two that you're dropping in front of that audience that really doesn't have high call to actions. Your goal with those shorter videos is just to get views. And then you retarget the people that viewed that video with your lead form. So you could use ClickFunnels, lead pages, a website, or for free, just use Facebook lead forms. But you want to make a very compelling call to action. So whatever that is, maybe they've seen a video or two from you, and now you're giving them a call to action. So for your free home value, or for to find out how much your home is worth. So some sort of a call to action like that driven into your ClickFunnels or your Facebook leads form.
Okay, I was wondering because I started a YouTube page with that, the whole, with different tips, get your home sold, things like this. So I've started, almost got 100 subscribers, right? Okay.
Yeah.
However,
so again, it really depends on whether it's the short game or the long game. You probably need to capture some leads, recapture some leads with an additional opt-in at some point. But I would certainly start with something where you're just going for brand awareness and credibility building, and you're not necessarily putting it behind a gate.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you guys so very much. I'm going to hop on over to Mastery now.
Yeah, you're a minute late for Mastery, and we don't want to keep anybody else waiting. And we made it through all the callers. This was a great timing. Bruce,
thank you guys so very much.
Thank you for your help,
thank
Bruce.
you.
I want to thank all 200 of you that showed up today. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. And I want to end this call like I always do. I want to challenge each of you. Take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call. Go out and put it into practice, and come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Make it a great week, guys. Stay productive, stay healthy, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.
Thank you.